The Meridian Council's Grand Chamber fell silent as Admiral Kexthor played the surveillance footage. The massive holographic display showed Earth's orbital defense grid activating without warning, reducing 3 Meridian diplomatic vessels to atoms. The council members' varied appendages twitched in dismay. This was supposed to be first contact, a momentous occasion for both civilizations. These humans, Kexthor's voice resonated through the chamber, his silver-scaled face reflecting the red emergency lights, have proven themselves too dangerous for diplomatic integration. We must act swiftly and decisively. But Kexthor and the Meridian Council had fundamentally misunderstood what they'd witnessed. The defense grid's activation wasn't aggression. It was desperation. Hours earlier, Earth's quantum detection arrays had picked up something the Meridians didn't know existed. Parasitic consciousness-altering spores floating in their ship's ventilation systems, waiting to infect and enslave any biological beings they encountered. Deep within the United Earth Defense Command bunker beneath the Himalayas, General Sarah Chen reviewed the sensor data for the 100th time. Her weathered face showed no emotion, but her fingers drummed restlessly on the holoscreen's edge. "Play it again," she ordered. The AI assistant AI displayed the quantum scan results once more. The spore's neural pattern matched exactly with those found in the ruins on Mars, the ones that had driven an ancient civilization to extinction. Humanity had discovered these ruins just 5 years ago, and the finding had accelerated Earth's military development at an unprecedented pace. "They'll be back," Lieutenant James Rodriguez said, his dark eyes fixed on the tactical display showing the Meridian fleet regrouping at the edge of the solar system. "And they'll think we're the aggressors." "Let them come," Chen replied, sending the alert that would activate humanity's hidden defense network. "We've been preparing for this since Mars. They have no idea what they're walking into." Across Earth's solar system, automated factories hidden in asteroid belts hummed to life. Deep beneath the ice of Europa and Enceladus, submarine carriers began powering up their quantum drives. In underground bases from Siberia to the Sahara, pilots suited up and headed to their craft. Vessels that combined technologies reverse-engineered from the Mars ruins with humanity's own innovations. The Meridian Alliance had expected to find a primitive species barely capable of interplanetary travel. Instead, they had stumbled upon a civilization that had spent the last 5 years preparing for exactly this kind of encounter. While they portrayed themselves as simple explorers of their solar system, humans had been building a military force unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Admiral Kexthor assembled his invasion fleet, confident in the Meridian's technological superiority. Their ships were bigger, their weapons more powerful, their shields supposedly impenetrable. But they had never encountered an enemy that thought like humans, an enemy that had learned to combine desperation with innovation, fear with ingenuity. As the Meridian warships approached Earth, they detected nothing unusual. Their sensors showed only a handful of primitive defense satellites and a few orbital platforms. The humans appeared to have withdrawn their forces, perhaps in fear. Kexthor allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. This would be over quickly. Then the asteroids began to move. What the Meridians had dismissed as space debris suddenly revealed themselves as camouflage weapon platforms. Hundreds of small, agile craft emerged from hidden hangars across the solar system. But most surprisingly, quantum signatures began appearing behind the Meridian fleet. Impossible readings that suggested ships were somehow phasing into existence from parallel space. "Impossible," Kexthor whispered as the tactical display lit up with warnings. Their technology was primitive just decades ago. They couldn't have developed quantum phase shifting. But they had. Using the knowledge gained from the Mars ruins combined with humanity's unique approach to physics, Earth's scientists had cracked the code of parallel space travel. While other species focused on brute force and size, humans had developed technology that emphasized stealth, mobility, and the element of surprise. The first shots weren't fired by the massive Meridian dreadnoughts. Instead, swarms of microdrones, barely visible to the naked eye, began infiltrating the Meridian ships through their engine exhaust ports. These weren't conventional weapons. They were delivery systems for targeted electromagnetic pulses designed to crash specific systems while leaving others intact. As chaos erupted across the Meridian fleet, General Chen's voice broadcasted across all frequencies. "This is humanity's only warning. We destroy your diplomatic vessels because they carried a biological weapon that once destroyed an entire civilization. We chose to sacrifice 3 ships to save both our species. Withdraw now, or we will demonstrate why species far more advanced than you left warnings about Earth in ruins across the galaxy." It was a bluff. Humanity had found no such warnings. But the Meridians, watching their superior technology fail against weapons they couldn't even detect, began to wonder just what kind of civilization they had attacked. The first battle for Earth would end not with a devastating war, but with a revelation that would reshape galactic politics forever. Humanity wasn't just another primitive species taking its first steps into space. They were the inheritors of ancient knowledge, combined with an innovation style that no other species could match. As the Meridian fleet retreated to regroup and reassess, Admiral Kexthor finally understood their mistake. They had judged humanity by their apparent level of technology, not by their potential. They had dismissed a species that had gone from horse-drawn carriages to quantum physics in less than 3 centuries. But most importantly, they had failed to recognize that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology. It was their ability to see patterns that other species missed, to innovate in ways that defied conventional wisdom, and to prepare for threats that hadn't yet emerged. The real war hadn't even begun. But already, the galaxy was about to learn why challenging humanity was a dangerous mistake. 3 days after the Meridian retreat, the galactic community buzzed with unprecedented activity. The Meridian Alliance's failed attempt to subjugate Earth had revealed something that shook the foundations of interstellar politics, a human fleet that seemed to appear from nowhere, wielding technologies that shouldn't exist. In the crystalline chambers of the Galactic Assembly, species from 1,000 worlds debated the implications. The Meridians had broadcast their defeat across all channels, a tactical error born of wounded pride, intended to rally support. Instead, it had turned every eye in the galaxy toward Earth. Ambassador Lyra of the Centaurian Collective, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with concern, addressed the emergency session. The humans didn't just defeat a Meridian battle fleet. They rendered our most basic assumptions about technological development obsolete. We must understand how. Deep within Titan's methane seas, Fleet Admiral Maya Patel watched the Assembly's broadcast with grim satisfaction. Around her, in the vast underwater facility designated Deep Shadow Base, crews prepared humanity's next surprise. The hangar bay stretched for kilometers, filled with ships that combined stolen Martian tech with human ingenuity. Vessels that could phase through solid matter, weapons that could target specific molecular bonds, and defense systems that bent probability itself. "They still don't understand," she said to her XO, Commander David Chen. "They think we just got lucky with some advanced tech. They haven't figured out what really makes us dangerous." Chen nodded, his augmented eyes scanning multiple data streams simultaneously. The Mars ruins were a test. The parasitic spores were a warning. Humanity didn't just find advanced technology. We found proof that we needed to think differently about survival. The truth was more complex than any alien species had guessed. The Mars ruins hadn't just contained technology. They contained evidence of multiple civilizations that had risen and fallen, each destroyed not by warfare or natural disaster, but by their own rigid thinking. The parasitic spores were just one of many threats they'd failed to adapt to quickly enough. Humanity had taken a different lesson from these discoveries. Instead of simply copying the advanced technology, they had asked a crucial question: why did such advanced civilizations fail? The answer had transformed human military doctrine overnight. In lunar bases and asteroid stations, in underwater facilities and underground bunkers, humans had spent 5 years building not just weapons, but new ways of thinking about warfare. Each ship in their fleet was unique, each weapon system designed to be unpredictable. They had created an army that didn't just fight, it evolved. The Meridians learned this lesson the hard way when they launched their second attack. This time, they came prepared for quantum phase shifting and microdrones. Their ships were modified, their shields reconfigured. Admiral Kexthor himself led the assault, confident that understanding human technology would lead to victory. But humans hadn't built a fleet to fight one type of battle. They had built a fleet to fight any battle, in any way necessary. As the Meridian forces approached Mars, they encountered nothing. No resistance, no hidden ships, no clever traps. Their sensors showed human activity on the red planet's surface, but no military presence. They're retreating, Kexthor announced to his command staff. They know they cannot stand against our full might. Then Mars disappeared. Not the planet itself, but every signal, every reading, every trace of its existence simply vanished from Meridian sensors. In the space between moments, the entire human fleet had shifted not through space, but through dimensional frequencies, taking a piece of space-time with them. When Mars reappeared 3 seconds later, the human fleet was behind, below, and inside the Meridian formation. Not in normal space, but passing through it like ghosts, their weapons reaching through dimensional barriers to strike with surgical precision. Impossible, Kexthor's tactical officer screamed. They're changing the rules of physics. No, Kexthor realized, watching his fleet's formation shatter. They're ignoring the rules we thought couldn't be broken. They're not fighting the way an advanced civilization should. They're fighting the way humans do. The battle that followed would be studied for centuries. Human ships didn't just fire weapons. They altered probability fields to ensure hits. They didn't just dodge attacks. They briefly shifted their ships into universes where those attacks had never been fired. Each vessel operated independently, adapting tactics in real time, learning and evolving even during combat. But the true horror for the Meridians came when they realized that this wasn't even humanity's main fleet. These were just the ships they were willing to reveal. As the second Meridian defeat turned into a rout, Admiral Patel received word that the Galactic Assembly had voted to send a delegation to Earth, not to offer terms, but to learn. In 5 years, humanity hadn't just prepared for war, they had revolutionized how it could be fought. Should we show them everything? Chen asked, watching the Meridian ships flee. No, Patel replied, her eyes on the deeper hangars where the real technological marvels waited. They need to understand first that our technology isn't what makes us dangerous. It's how we think. It's how we adapt. It's how we take impossibility as a challenge, not a limit. The hidden fleet remained hidden, its existence a reminder that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't the ships they could build or the physics they could bend. It was their refusal to accept any limit as final, any rule as unbreakable, any defeat as inevitable. The galaxy was about to learn why. The Meridian High Command's emergency session descended into chaos as the holographic projections showed another impossibility. Humans had begun terraforming Mars in weeks rather than centuries, not through conventional means, but by somehow accelerating time itself within carefully controlled zones. Supreme Commander Vexera, who had replaced the disgraced Admiral Kexthor, watched the images with mounting dread. First dimensional warfare, now temporal manipulation. What are these humans? The answer was simpler and more complex than any alien civilization could comprehend. Humans were survivors who had learned to think in ways that defied conventional logic. On Mars, Dr. Samira Hassan stood at the control center of Project Genesis, watching as time-accelerated forests sprouted across the Red Plains. Around her, quantum computers calculated and adjusted thousands of temporal fields, each aging the ecosystem within at different rates to create a stable biosphere. "They still don't get it," she said to her colleague, Dr. Marcus Wong. "They think this is about showing off our technology. It's not. It's about showing them what happens when you back humans into a corner." The truth was, humanity hadn't just been preparing for war these past 5 years. They had been preparing to rewrite the rules of existence itself. The Mars ruins had shown them that the universe was far more malleable than anyone had imagined, but only if you were willing to think beyond traditional constraints. While the Meridians watched Mars transform, humanity's real masterstroke was already in motion. Deep within Europa's oceans, quantum engines powered up, not to drive ships, but to alter reality itself. The Meridians' third attack never came. Instead, they found their own worlds changing in subtle, inexplicable ways. Quantum fluctuations began appearing in their major cities. Time moved slightly differently in their military installations. Space itself seemed to resist their attempt to marshal another fleet. In the Galactic Assembly, panic spread as reports came in from across Meridian space. Ambassador Lyra's bioluminescence flashed in patterns of shock as she read the data. They're not attacking the Meridians, she realized. They're changing the fundamental laws of physics in Meridian territory. The humans had discovered something that had eluded every other species. Reality itself was negotiable. The laws of physics weren't absolute. They were more like guidelines that could be locally amended if you understood the universe's source code. Admiral Maya Patel stood before the United Earth Defense Council, explaining the strategy. "We didn't just build weapons," she said, her voice steady. "We built tools to rewrite the rules of the game. The Meridians can't attack if their weapons don't work the same way they did yesterday." The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just developed new technology. They had learned to hack reality itself. Each quantum engine wasn't just a power source. It was a reality editor, capable of subtly altering the fundamental constants of the universe within its sphere of influence. The Meridian Empire, faced with ships that wouldn't fly, weapons that wouldn't fire, and computers that operated on suddenly different mathematical principles, did the only thing they could. They asked for peace. But the galaxy's troubles weren't over. The parasitic spores that had triggered this conflict were still out there, and now other ancient threats began to stir, awakened by the quantum disturbances humanity had created. In her private chambers, Dr. Hassan reviewed the latest data from the Mars excavations. "We found something else," she told the emergency council meeting. "The civilization that left these ruins, they weren't destroyed by the spores. They were running from something worse." The quantum sensors humanity had developed were picking up disturbances at the edge of the solar system, ripples in reality that suggested something massive was approaching, something that had hunted advanced civilizations for millions of years. Commander Chen's augmented eyes processed the sensor data, his enhanced brain calculating possibilities. "Whatever's coming," he said, "it's used to fighting species that follow the rules. It's never encountered humans before." The Meridians, watching their reality literally change around them, had learned this lesson too late. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology, or their ships, or even their ability to alter physics. It was their capacity to face the impossible and say, "We'll find a way." As the unknown threat approached, the galaxy watched in amazement as humanity began preparing not just weapons, but new laws of physics. They weren't just going to fight this ancient enemy. They were going to change the rules of existence until they couldn't lose. The turning point hadn't just shifted the war with the Meridians. It had shown the galaxy that humans didn't just think outside the box. They denied the box's existence and rebuilt reality to suit their needs. And as the darkness at the edge of the solar system grew closer, humanity prepared to prove once again why underestimating them was the last mistake any species would ever make. The Galactic Assembly's Grand Hall had never been so crowded. Representatives from over 10,000 civilizations gathered to witness something unprecedented. The Meridian Empire requesting protection from Earth. The same humans they had tried to conquer mere months ago were now their last hope against the horror approaching from deep space. Supreme Commander Vexera, once proud and imperious, stood humbled before the assembly. "Our long-range sensors confirm what the humans discovered. The entity emerging from the void. It consumes entire civilizations. Not just their people, but their reality itself. Ambassador Lyra's bioluminescent patterns shifted to deep purple, a sign of grave concern among her species. "And you believe the humans can stop it?" "We believe," Vexra replied, "that they're the only ones who might." In the depths of Titan's methane seas, humanity's response was already taking shape. Dr. Hassan and her team had decrypted more of the Mars ruins, revealing the true nature of their enemy, the Void Collective, a civilization so ancient they had transcended normal spacetime. They didn't just destroy worlds, they consumed the very laws of physics that governed them. Admiral Patel stood before a holographic representation of the solar system, watching as reality distortions rippled outward from the approaching entity. "Show me the projections," she ordered. The AI displayed the calculations. Within 3 months, the Void Collective would reach the outer solar system. Within 6, they would begin unraveling the fabric of spacetime itself, unless humanity could stop them. But humans had spent 5 years preparing for threats they hadn't even known existed. In hidden facilities across the solar system, they had built not just weapons, but tools to reshape creation itself. Now those preparations would be tested against an enemy that had devoured galaxies. The first sign that this conflict would be different came when the Centaurian Collective offered their quantum harmonics technology, secrets they had guarded for millennia. The Arcturus Federation followed, sharing their mastery of dark energy manipulation. Even the Meridians, swallowing their pride, revealed the full extent of their dimensional phasing capabilities. "They're not just offering alliance," Commander Chen observed, watching the diplomatic feeds. "They're giving us the building blocks to save existence itself." Humanity took these offerings and did what they did best. They innovated. In weeks, they combined technologies that other species had kept separate for millions of years. They found synergies that no one had imagined possible, created hybrid systems that defied conventional physics. Deep beneath Europa's ice, Dr. Wong led a team combining Centaurian quantum harmonics with human reality editing engines. "We're not just building weapons anymore," he explained to the gathered alien scientists. "We're creating tools to rewrite the operating system of the universe." The Void Collective had never encountered a species like humanity before. They had consumed countless civilizations, each more advanced than the last, but all bound by their own rules and limitations. Humans, however, treated the laws of physics like suggestions and impossibility like a personal challenge. When the first tendrils of the Void Collective reached Pluto, they encountered something unprecedented. A quantum field that didn't just resist their reality-consuming powers, it rewrote them. Humanity had turned their enemy's greatest weapon against them. "Remarkable," Ambassador Lyra observed from the safety of the Galactic Assembly. "They're not just fighting the Void Collective. They're changing the fundamental nature of what it means to exist." The battle for reality itself had begun, and humanity's greatest weapon proved to be not their technology, but their ability to unite the galaxy. Species that had been enemies for millions of years now worked together, combining their knowledge in ways they had never imagined. Admiral Patel watched as the combined fleet of 1,000 species assembled near Jupiter. Each ship had been modified with human innovations, each weapon system upgraded to affect reality itself. But the real power wasn't in the ships, it was in the unprecedented cooperation they represented. "We didn't just change how we fight," she told the assembled alien commanders. "We changed how the galaxy thinks about survival. Unity isn't just an option anymore. It's the only way any of us make it through this." As the Void Collective approached, they found not just humanity waiting for them, but a galaxy united in ways they had never encountered in all their eons of consumption. The species they had expected to devour had instead become something new, a civilization that could change the rules of existence faster than the Void Collective could consume them. The battle that followed would rewrite not just history, but reality itself, and at its heart was a simple truth that had eluded the galaxy's oldest civilizations. Sometimes the best way to win wasn't to play by the rules, it was to change the game entirely. Humanity had not just gained allies, they had taught the galaxy a new way to exist. And as the final confrontation approached, The universe itself held its breath, waiting to see what impossibility humans would make reality next. The battle for reality itself lasted both an instant and an eternity. Time had little meaning in the space between Jupiter and Saturn, where humanity and their allies fought the Void Collective. Reality flickered and shifted as two fundamentally different approaches to existence clashed. Dr. Hassan stood in the quantum control center of Titan Base, watching as space-time itself convulsed around the fighting fleets. "They still don't understand," she said, monitoring the Void Collective's attempts to consume their defenses. "They keep trying to unmake us according to the old rules." But humanity had changed those rules. The combined fleet, using technology that merged the knowledge of 1,000 species with human innovation, didn't just fight in space. They fought through possibilities. Each ship existed in multiple states simultaneously, their weapons targeting not just their enemy's physical form, but their very conception of reality. The Void Collective, for the first time in their ancient existence, faced an enemy that didn't just resist consumption. It rewrote the nature of consumption itself. Every time they tried to unmake reality, they found humans had already changed the definition of what reality meant. Admiral Patel's voice cut through the quantum static. "Initialize Project Prometheus. Deep within Europa's oceans, beneath Titan's methane seas, and in hidden bases throughout the solar system, reality engines powered up simultaneously. But they didn't just affect local space-time. They began changing the fundamental constants of the universe itself. The Void Collective's very nature began to shift. Their ability to consume reality found itself being consumed by a new set of physics, ones written by humans and their allies. The predator that had devoured galaxies discovered what it meant to be rewritten. "Extraordinary," Ambassador Lyra breathed, watching from the Galactic Assembly as space itself seemed to crystallize around the Void Collective. "They're not destroying them. They're changing what it means to exist." The truth was more profound than even their allies understood. Humanity hadn't just built weapons or defenses. They had created a new way of being. The quantum engines weren't destroying the Void Collective. They were offering them a choice: evolve or cease to exist. In the space between moments, the Void Collective made their choice. Their consciousness, which had known only consumption for eons, began to transform. The very force that had threatened to unmake reality found itself being remade. Dr. Wong's sensors detected the change first. "They're not fighting anymore," he announced, his augmented eyes processing the quantum data. "They're adapting." The galaxy watched in awe as the Void Collective transformed from a force of destruction into something entirely new. Their ability to affect reality remained, but now it served a different purpose: creation rather than consumption. "This was always the goal," Admiral Patel explained to the assembled galactic leadership. "Not to destroy them, but to show them, and everyone else, that adaptation is stronger than annihilation." In the aftermath, the galaxy changed in ways no one had predicted. The Void Collective, once the universe's greatest threat, became its greatest innovators, working with humans to explore new ways of existing. The Meridians abandoned their empire to join a new galactic cooperative, one founded on innovation rather than dominance. But the most profound change was in how the galaxy's species viewed themselves and each other. Humanity had shown them that their greatest strength wasn't in their technology or their weapons, but in their ability to change, to adapt, to see beyond their own limitations. 1 year after the battle, Dr. Hassan stood before the new Galactic Council, a body that included representatives from every known species, including the transformed Void Collective. "We never set out to rule the galaxy," she said. "We set out to survive. But in learning to survive, we discovered something greater: how to help everyone thrive." The Mars ruins, which had started everything, became a museum. A reminder that the greatest threats could lead to the greatest innovations. The quantum engines that had rewritten reality became tools for exploration and creation. The weapons that had defended existence became the foundations for new forms of life. Humanity had done more than save the galaxy. They had shown it a new way to exist, one where the impossible was just the starting point, where rules were meant to be rewritten, and where survival meant more than just continuing to exist. As ships from 1,000 worlds gathered around Earth to celebrate the first anniversary, what became known as the Reality War, Admiral Patel watched from her command deck with quiet satisfaction. "They finally understand," she said to Commander Chen. "The galaxy's greatest strength isn't in its technology or its weapons, or even its laws of physics. It's in its ability to change." Chen finished. "To adapt, to become something new." The dawn of this new era brought possibilities that even humans hadn't imagined. But they faced it as they had faced every challenge. Not with fear of the unknown, but with eagerness to explore it, to reshape it, to make it their own. The galaxy had learned its lesson. The species that had seemed too young, too reckless, too willing to break the rules had shown them all a fundamental truth. Sometimes the best way to face the impossible was to change what impossible meant. A new age had begun, and humanity was ready to help write its rules. Or better yet, to show everyone how to rewrite them.